All right, hello and good morning, everyone. This is Tyler James from Comics Launch and Comics Tribe here, and I'm excited to do a sort of impromptu live stream with my good friend Rob Multari. On this episode of the Comics Launch podcast and our live stream, we are going to be talking about the topic of getting creative with your Kickstarter creator cross promotion. Cross promotion is an example of one way to drive interest and eyeballs and backing for your Kickstarter projects when they are live. Both Rob and I have projects that are live on Kickstarter right now. Rob's project, Nightwolf, the graphic novel collection, the long-awaited, is live with 4 days to go on Kickstarter. And the Comics Tribe project, our latest graphic novel, Wailing Blade, is also live with 14 days to go. So we've got a couple of awesome die-cut hardcovers that we are trying to bring to the world here. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about is one of the strategies that both Rob and I use, and that is creator cross-promotion. So Rob, why don't you, I'll give you a moment just to introduce yourself to any of the Creator Comics Launch audience that is unfamiliar with you. I know you've been on the program before, but tell us a little bit about who you are, what you create, and the project that you have live on Kickstarter.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tyler. I'm Rob Multari. I'm the creator and writer of Nightwolf. And Nightwolf is a story about a young man who finds out that he's born a werewolf and gets thrown into a supernatural war against demons, witches, vampires, other werewolves. Basically, I've been doing this since 2017. I've released my first issue, and this past June and July, I ran a successful Kickstarter for number 4. So, now we're doing the collected edition, and we're also doing extra stories. And Tyler actually is one of my guest writers on these stories, which his stretch goal is unlocked. So his story is added to the book for sure. And just different ways, like he was saying, different ways to kind of cross promote and get other people involved. So I'm extremely happy to be able to publish one of Tyler's, as well as Madeline, Holly Rosing, and Travis Gibb and Kevin Josephs each have stories that they did for me, and I'm happy to be able to work with them all and be able to put their stories in my world with my characters out, kind of like an anthology. It's actually, it kind of really is, your parts of the story. So it's kind of like, I guess, dipping my toes into that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get into the cross promotional aspects of what we're doing here, but this is probably another interesting thing to talk about, because it's something that you're doing with Nightwolf, and me and the Wailing Blade team are doing with Wailing Blade, and that is the concept of when you go and launch the trade collection, finding some creative ways to add additional value and content in order to drive new interest, to get people that maybe have read every issue or bought multiple copies of every issue to come back again. I know this is one of the things that a lot of creators are like, well, is anybody got, like, my biggest fans already have the book, so why even bother putting out a graphic novel? And the truth is, your biggest fans will probably jump in and grab the graphic novel too, because, and it could be just as simple as, well, hey, I like that book, and it's easier for me to find it on the shelf than to go back and grab all of the issues. But the sort of creator, publisher, and always wanting to add value for our fans in us, I think makes it so that we want to find ways to add extra value to our backers. So one way that we're doing that over in Wailing Blade is we have this concept called Legends of the Wailing Blade. And Legends of the Wailing Blade is basically, we reached out to a whole bunch of writers and and asked them to come up with a origin story for this weapon. In this world, it's a future dark age, but there are these relics of mankind's sort of technological golden age. One such relic is this weapon, the Wailing Blade, and the idea is that no one really knows where it comes from. And so what we did is reached out to a lot of writers and said, "Hey, give us a short origin story for this weapon here." And then we also reached out to a bunch of our up and coming indie comic artists and fans and like artists that we love and people that we just enjoy working with, and had them do an illustration to go with these short stories. I'll just sort of share and break the news here that Rob is also one of the writers. We haven't announced him officially, but if you're tuning in live to this, we're happy to share that Rob has contributed a Legends of the Wailing Blade story as well, and that will be included in the collection and is being drawn by Mark Thomas, right?
Yeah. Yes, I've seen the rough sketches of it. It looks good. I think you'll be very pleased with it when he's done.
Yeah, and so this is an example of new content that we're adding to the collection in addition to issues 1 through 4. And so you went a slightly different route, which is kind of an interesting thing and something that I haven't necessarily seen before. You decided to add sort of extra content to every issue that would be guest written by some writers that you are friends with, and then drawn by the artist of the series. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, Carlos did a lot. He did the character designs, and he did the first couple pages of issue 1, and then he did all of issue 4. He kind of took a hiatus for a bit because he had other projects, or he had a different job. Now he's able to do it again. But I think so with having the guest writers, my intention for it was that, I've worked with other artists doing variant covers, and that was something, I liked working with them on that. And, a lot of the stuff that they do is very visual, very, beautiful. I love having the different artwork that comes into this kind of a situation, especially with Kickstarters. You're able to show extra art with extra artists. But from a writer's standpoint, you feeling that side of things, you don't really get that kind of a cross promotion or feeling, or even working on multiple projects unless you're doing an anthology. And so I thought it would be cool to, because these were ideas that I had that basically would have been director's cuts. I kind of got out while I was in the writing process, and the ideas just I kept them in the back of my head thinking, well, if I ever were to able to do an extended cut, these are some things that I would like to do. So when I approached you and the other 3 writers, I gave you the pick of the litter on that. I said, here's the chapters, issues that are now chapters. Here's the ideas for what those 4 pages would entail. Make it yours. Pick one, make it yours. Yeah. And you of course chose the first one with featuring Snowpaw, and for chapter 1. And again, it was one of those things where it's like I like the collaboration side of things, and being able to put that having that same feel if I was doing a variant cover, but bringing it more attention to the writers. And no offense to any of the artists, because believe me, I've gotten more art for this project as well. I mean, so I got writers and I've got artists collaborate, back and forth, and being put into this book to try and give it different angles, different things. And like you said, I haven't seen a lot of that either. So I thought it would be something different to try and just kind of see what happened. And I'm very pleased with how it turned out. With the stories are all great, and I'm very happy with just in general. I can't wait to show these pages when they are they're printed out and everybody can see, especially with Carlos. His style is just it's so unique. It has that nice hybrid of Western and Eastern art, and it's making it kind of like manga America mixture that I think I only that he can do. I've seen others do it, but I think he just has this really great style, especially when it comes to werewolves. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait to be able to share these pages. And what I liked about too, that putting it into the different chapters, that it gives that element of like, well, this, especially when it's in the pages that is in between Oscar's pages, you know that it's a little bit different. It's something new. And it kind of brings, while you're reading it, something else jumps out at you, like, oh, this is different. This okay. I'm gonna, especially for new readers and existing readers, the existing readers can, they'll know right away that this is something different, something that they'll get to experience for the first time, even if they've read Nightwolf before.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's a great great approach to take. And, I think it's worth noting, just for those people that haven't been following the Nightwolf story or others, is that, being in the position that you are right now, several years after, attempting to get this off the ground, the first run, is a little bit night and day. And the ability to come to Kickstarter armed with, a great series that you've been working on, that you've been building a fan base for, and then add more fuel to the fire in the form of other creators with Kickstarter audiences that are a part of your book, that are rooting for your book, that want to see it succeed. That makes things a lot easier than it does when you didn't really have that community and you just sort of said, hey, here's my idea. I'm launching it on Kickstarter. Hope you guys like it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's this. This will be my fourth launch, but it'll be my third that has funded. Whereas my first one, as I think you were alluding to, I didn't have an audience. I set a very high goal of 20,000 because I didn't know any better. I was going for 3 issues. I've seen other comics of the same caliber, overfund that much or more.
And if you're doing the math, $20,000 raised to produce 3 professional caliber comics and shipped to backers, like that's not a crazy amount of money to ask for.
Yeah, I think even like with the 3 issues, when I had it planned out, I actually probably wouldn't have even broken even. It was just, okay, well, I think this is reasonable for these 3 issues. Let's just do it,
Right. But what's not reasonable is if you don't have an audience a crowd to launch to, right, and all of a sudden $20,000 is like, okay, how are you going to make that happen?
Right. Well, that's how. Again, that goes back to being a beginner and being naive. And I believe in my book that much, which even looking back, even after the disappointment of not raising that, the first time around, I did manage to raise over 5,000. If I would have been smart and gone for the first issue, I would have been a lot farther ahead then than I am now.
Yeah. And this is the kind of thing where, I talk to a lot of creators, a lot of people, will message me, how do I get my graphic novel off the ground? And usually the first thing I tell them is, don't launch it as a graphic novel. Like, especially if you haven't started yet. Right? You've got the opportunity, break it up, because I know you've found that one of the, when you look at in terms of building your audience and building a fan base, one of the things that makes the biggest difference for you is actually doing a launch.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is because, you get customers out there, but it also, like, it forces you out of your comfort zone a little bit to do these kind of creator cross promotions and to get in front of the eyeballs of other creators out there. So, so one of the core things that both you did and I did to make this tactical for our listeners is, for at least for this collection, is find ways to incorporate more creators into the product of the book itself, so that more creators have this, have your project on their resume, and it increases the likelihood that their fan base might jump on board. But you've also done other creative ways to cross promote with creators during this launch. So what other strategies are you using to, while the campaign is live, to get in front of other creators' audiences, and also to highlight to your audience, which you've now built, several hundred people backing on Kickstarter right now with 4 days to go. You built an audience for Nightwolf as well. What have you been using to get other people's books in front of their audience, and how have you been approaching that during the campaign?
So, I do the typical, I ask other, Kickstarters that are live now and say, hey, do you want to do a cross promotion update? That's one simple way to do it. If you don't have the resume, you can easily do it that way and say, hey, these are live. These are also how you, can show each other's books to your audiences. And other, in other cross promotional ways. So something that Kevin Joseph actually brought in the idea so about doing a crossover with Tart, and then I brought that idea over to you, but is having each other's artists doing a cross promotion with an image. So being able to show that and me as a fan, I love cross promotions. I love whenever like a Marvel crossover happens, and that's probably why they're so overdone now. But in the indie world, that's rarely seen. So, I approached, Tyler, and I said, hey, I have this idea that I would love to see, Nightwolf and the Headtaker crossing blades. Whereas Nightwolf has Wolfsbane and Headtaker has the Wailing Blade. It would be cool to see these two clashing. I mean, obviously, it's not going to, they don't live in the same world or universe, but it would be cool to see what would happen with that. So Tyler said that, he was interested in it. So I approached Joe Mulvey about doing the artwork for it. Because I love his Headtaker, and I would love, as a fan, it was fan art seeing him, he's doing my character, so it was definitely, when he accepted, I was very pleased. And so the idea too behind this is to, also trying to keep it simple, because if you had so many different ways of being able to do this cross promotion, you could either offer digital or physical or this and that. Like I've done with my own prints. Usually I will give a physical to the physical backers and a wallpaper digital version to the digital backers. But that kind of gets a little bit convoluted, because now you have two different campaigns, and how do you cross check, having these, if somebody backs one campaign and backs another. So the idea here was to simply do we have the exclusive physical 5x7 print, and whenever Tyler goes to fulfill or to send out his surveys to his backers, he will ask the question, did you back Nightwolf and Wailing Blade? And then he'll give them a kind of a code, and it'll come over to me, and then we'll be able to cross-check that with whether they were on both campaigns or not, and then I will send out the prints with my books to these backers who have come to both campaigns.
Yeah. So the idea is that, and just to simplify this, or simplify the strategy is you found a book and a creator and a creative team that was live on Kickstarter around the same time. You decided that if you back both campaigns at the physical level, you would provide an extra incentive, a print that everyone that has backed both campaigns at a physical level would receive. And you sort of went the extra step of making that print a crossover print that involved characters from both campaigns and the artist from the project that you were looking that you cross promoted with. All right. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely more in depth and more of a detailed thing to do, and a detailed approach to do than your basic update swap, right? And so the update swap is something that you've been doing. It's something that we've been doing over Wailing Blade. And one of the things, and you can sort of share how your approach to, who you're going to cross over with is, but the way we positioned our update swap with our audience is we wanted to do it, and this is one of the things that I sort of appreciate is what I don't like is like a random at the end. You get one line of, hey, here's 6 other cool projects that are live on Kickstarter right now. Boom. And they're all over the map. And it's literally just projects that could be anything that just have some audience, just has a bit of an audience. What I like to actually do is make sure that I run it through the filter of like, would the person that's backing our project actually dig this book? Is there a nice audience crossover? And the way I sort of position it is saying things like, hey, we're going to be like, there's over 300 awesome projects, or there's over 300 projects on Kickstarter. A good percentage of them are awesome, like just in the comics category. And so we're going to be your concierge to some other really good Kickstarter projects that you don't want to miss, that we like, that we think our audience would like. And so we like, I even created this graphic here, also sharp on Kickstarter. So it's clear, like in our project updates that go out, and we've been sending out updates, but usually every day, but sometimes every other day. And most of our updates are getting just one project that we're highlighting each day that we think our audience would like. Now, an example of this would be this Killaroo project, which is getting color by Darren. And so the cool thing is that, here, check out this comment that was left by one of our backers. He said, and this is a super backer, Michael Falvin. He said, I like very much how Kickstarter has become a community where the like-minded projects support one another. Glad to see you being our concierge for other great projects, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's exactly the kind of like value add that we get the opportunity to do as Kickstarter creators and cross-promoting with other creators, right?
Yeah, I've actually had a similar message from one of my. So he's a return backer from my last campaign, and he said, he's like, this is great. He's like, I love how you guys share. You don't see a lot of that, but so with our community, we like to help each other out, and I do the same thing. Especially since this is a, when I launched in October, a lot of these campaigns are supernatural based, vampires, horror-esque. So for me, it was easy to find a lot of cross promotions to be able to work with like-minded, or interest kind of things. So it was easy to be able to say, hey, I back this. You should back this too, because we have the same kind of interests. You like werewolves, demons, vampires, witches. Here's and dark fantasy stuff. Obviously, this is an amazing crossover here. Whereas, like, in general, sometimes when you have like a superhero book going against a supernatural book, sometimes those audiences don't always mesh.
Yeah.
But if you know that the book has great art and great story, you could always cater to that, saying, hey, if you're a fan of good art, good stories, even though it's not supernatural or dark fantasy, this is a great book to check out. So being able to kind of talk a little bit about the other projects as well, instead of just kind of giving that high level, one sentence helps out, them as much as it helps out you, being able to, share with your audience, and it gives it more value whenever you go to do it with somebody else.
Absolutely. And for that, and another thing that is an opportunity that I saw that you took up, and I'm not sure if it's still available or not, but that you sort of commissioned Joe to do this crossover piece, and then you can make that like an original reward that you can sell at a premium level for one of your backers. So I don't know if it's still available, but
it is. It's still available.
Nice.
Original black and white inked cover, or print is available on my if you go to through the add-ons. It's all the way at the bottom that the add-ons they are in the campaign or the update.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's it's hard to see now, but it's towards the bottom leg of the rewards with the other add-ons that I have pictured. because the new add-on feature doesn't exactly show it as easily. But yeah, so this is the inked original that you can add on to the campaign when you pledge, and Joe has it ready. He's actually, I think, planning on sending it to me directly today. I think was the last time I talked to him about it. But yeah, I mean, that's an extra piece that you wouldn't normally have by great artists that you could possibly reach out to or work with. I mean, when you know that people love their art, that's something you as a fan could also enjoy, but also, to your audience, you can, if they like the art that you're sharing, this is an extra way for you to kind of boost your campaign, but also, by having original art to offer and share, it's just an extra incentive, a nice, thing that they can have in their hands. My last campaign, I did some auctions with some original artwork, and I got messages, I got tweets back from the current owners of these pieces, and showing me how they hung them on their wall. They put, for one example, the Keystone exclusive that I had done with Chris Williams. The guy who bought the original artwork, he matted the comic and the artwork next to each other and put it on his wall.
Nice.
It's super cool to see. And,
yeah, and that's a one of a kind, like he's the only person in the world that has that piece.
Exactly.
Wall. So that's great to see. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to reach out and and it doesn't always have to just be with creators that are live on Kickstarter. One of the things that we did was, a member of the Comics Launch Pro community that just wrapped up the Colorpedia Kickstarter launch, which is a massive, 200,000K launch for a great, digital resource for digital artists. That's Aldrich Stibor. And so I sort of reached out to Aldrich, trying to see if we could do something creative to cross promote. And one of the things his campaign had done in the very wee hours, it crossed 200K, which he had a stretch goal set up for it, but he didn't exactly line it all up. And so One of the things that we said is, okay, how about you give, what he wanted to do was give away a free full issue of line art because he wanted his backers to have the opportunity to color, a full issue of sequential art if they so choose. And so we basically offered up Wailing Blade's first issue sequential artwork. And then we also sort of had two color artists do the first, do a cover and 5 pages. So we were sort of able to put together a package that included, here's all the original artwork, here's the, here's the 2 different professional color artists' take on the first pages for your reference, and then sort of have at it. We also included the full digital issue, and in return we got a shout out to the thousands of backers that they had for our live campaign.
Yeah, and you weren't live at the same time. You both were he finished a couple weeks before you even launched. I mean,
yeah, he had just finished, and sort of timed that as an update to backers, related to a past stretch goal, and so. Yeah. Finding ways, it doesn't only have to be creators that have live Kickstarter projects that you're reaching out to, but the key there for us was, understanding, who has who has what and how you can make it a win-win-win, a win for you, a win for them, and a win for their backers is really sort of the key there. And so we tried to do that creatively with Aldrich and the RenderWave team.
Yeah, that's how with Kevin's campaign, and because his started yesterday, and so ours only had a 5-day crossover. But we were promoting our crossover and his campaign well before it even launched, so that he can get those pre-launch numbers up. And yesterday he funded in under 12 hours. I'm not saying I had anything to do with it, but I mean, it's still something that you could do. if you know that you're not going to have a lot of crossover, or you could even, if you plan things out, you help one or the other, either way, like it's just,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And, another thing that I think a lot of Kickstarter creators may sort of wonder is like, all right, I could do all of this stuff, but, why bother? And yeah, I cross promoted with a couple people, but I didn't see any backers from it or anything like that. And, I'm interested to see your take in terms of, how to do the return on the time and investment and other things. But the big point that I want backers to, or creators to understand, is that rarely is it just one thing that is going to, like rarely if ever is it one thing that's going to turn complete stranger into backer or customer.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
in fact, you've probably, most studies, like you got to see something like 7 times before you even know it's a thing or recognize it, before it breaks through the noise.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's not any one cross promotion necessarily that, or media hit, or one strategy that I'm looking for. It's really the totality of it throughout the campaign.
Yeah, and sitting on the fence too for how long until they see something, like if there's a new piece of art that they just have to have, or or if somebody that a name that they recognize who's working on the book with you just happens to pop up in one of your notifications, they're like, okay, now I have to.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's like, they're going to teeter until they want to make that decision. And who knows, you're kind of throwing darts hoping that you're going to hit the right thing, but it's like Tyler said, the sum of all things, it's not just one thing that's going to do it all.
Yes. Travis throwing some data from what he's seeing. He said, I found you get 1 backer for every 100 backers that someone does an update for you. Double that if you are connected with them. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's actually probably not a bad conversion rate. 1 out of 100 people see, 1% of people that are getting getting the message put in front of them. Like, that's actually a really good conversion rate. So yeah, it is a little bit of a numbers game. It is also a collective numbers game. If you're backing 4 projects on Kickstarter and 3 out of those 4 recommend the same book, eventually, and then you see that, that book is coming down the wire and it's got 48 hours left to jump in. That can make an impact too. Another thing that we're doing in terms of cross promotion and I mean, this is sort of a strategy that we're doing, and Wailing Blade is, we set a big goal, $30,000, and we knew that it was going to be a march to get there. So that's where milestone bonuses really come in handy. And so we sort of set these up where everyone who gets in before each of these milestones gets the bonus, which provides throughout the campaign new incentives to jump in now. And so what we've been doing is we've got a few projects in the works that are coming up for Comics Tribe from creators that have Kickstarter audiences and that we've worked with in the past. And so we're sort of using previews or digital ash cans of those upcoming projects as sort of, hey, get off the fence, jump in now bonuses. And so we, at 75% funded, we made a big push to Sync fans to get in and check out the preview for what's coming in the pages of Sync in 2021. We'll do the same thing, just sort of announced an 80% funded milestone where we've got a new project that we're working on with Ryan K. Lindsay, sort of a spiritual follow-up to She, in the sense that it's an original graphic novel, probably oversized, probably large format, probably do something ridiculously cool with the cover. But you can get a first look at that if you jump in before 80% funded. And so that becomes a thing where, Ryan can share that with his audience to get them excited. And it also teases the next launch because, and teases future launches. So those are some other things that we use. I know another strategy in terms of creator cross promotion that you're using and that we're using is this concept of digital comics bonus bundles. Talk a little bit about how you're using bonus digital comics, or how you use digital comics bonus bundles or early bundles for your campaign.
So starting off, I used a couple for the milestone bonuses, getting up to funding, kind of giving an extra sign, be like, hey, you're going to get this extra book. You're going to get this extra book once we hit these milestones. And then also as a kind of, I had, a bunch of our creator friends, say, hey, you can use my book. You can use my book. And I was very thankful for that. And, I'm thankful for, everybody who's backed the campaign so far. And so considering the fact that now it's, we did a Halloween promotion where everybody got who backed by Halloween got a print or the digital wallpaper. So this time for the Thanksgiving bonus, because it's November and I wanted to do I wanted to show my thanks. I put in 12 different creator books. Most of them are number ones. Some of them are one shots. And these are all great stories, handpicked and put into there. And, it's basically this bonus runs out by the end of Sunday. So they need to back by Sunday. So everybody who has already backed is getting it. Everybody who backs from now until the end of Sunday night is going to get these 12 comics for free. So they'll be able to read them digitally and enjoy them. And then hopefully when these other creators are running a Kickstarter, I know Beast King is going to be having another one soon. Black Ball is already currently running. MJ just started hers yesterday, had a great first day. I know that Andrew, he's not running one for Man of Sin, but he's running a new series. This is kind of introducing them. Travis, he has one in there. Voodoo Nation, he has another Voodoo Nation's coming out in February. He's currently doing the Cthulhu Invades Oz. There's Kurt Zauer's he's got one of his books in there. He's currently running for an issue 2 of the book that I'm offering as a bonus. And I know that Colin's going to be doing more before I get to Dallas. All those books. I mean, these are all great stories, and I'm happy to be able to share them with my audience and hope that they'll be able to enjoy them too.
Yeah, and you obviously are will make Nightwolf #1 available to their audiences if they want to share.
Oh, yeah.
And so, again, for the creator out there that's sort of still the the DIY lone wolf as you are and you were, there is the power of joining communities and engaging in the indie community and finding common cause with other creators out there, because it can allow you to just add tremendous amount of value to your backers, and which translates often into funding and support for your own campaign.
Exactly. I mean, I was able to do a lot on my own, but once I joined into the indie creators community, opening up, opportunities with each other, working with each other, getting advice from each other, offering advice to each other. I mean, it's so much better to work together than to, because when you see those, some creators, bicker through Facebook or whatever, or Twitter, that doesn't do anybody any good. And, being a part of a larger community, if you hold each other up, you're going to go farther to just be held down.
Right. And it's one of the unique aspects of comics and comics on Kickstarter is that there is genuinely a comics Kickstarter community. And many other categories do not have that. There is no community. We have the most returning creators. I would say we also probably have the most returning backers in the comics community because of how, part of that is how the comic industry and the serialized nature of things works, but also it's the fact that we deliver and we cross promote and we support each other. And so while there are more projects that have ever been launched in the comics category in Kickstarter history, while that's going on, projects are also funding at a higher level
Yeah.
than ever before. And so it's great to, and part of that is what's special about the comics Kickstarter community. And so these are some great examples about how this community shows up as a community in a way that really does help add to funding and a lot of fun. Like, Kickstarter campaigns are a long time, right? But if you can break it up with these cross promotions and these things, it's how you make it, something that you can sustain over several weeks or a month.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a cycle too. Like you kind of, once you've done a couple of them, too. Like the beginning is a lot more fast paced, and you have that middle. So if you plan things out, when when your slow times are going to be, and you put in extra promotions or time things out, so kind of sprinkle a little mystery along the lines. And then when you have your big reveals, you see, like, you can see where that uptake, goes into the campaign. So having that kind of stuff planned, but be flexible at the same time, because plans don't always go, according to plan. It's nice to be able to make a lateral move if you have to, but always keeping in mind, like, you have these things that you can kind of like, okay, let's launch this, let's launch that, and sometimes you kind of have to do things spur of the moment.
Yeah.
There's several times, in this last campaign and this campaign, that I've had to like, oh, this is a great idea, I'm going to try this. Or, so don't be afraid to try different things, while you're, experiment during, your slow periods, while also having something in place to make up for that if you did.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, sometimes I'll use like the football analogy where you go into your launch with a playbook and a set of plays that you run, but sometimes when you're at the line, you're going to call some audibles, you're going to scramble around, you're going to have to make things happen on the fly. And it's actually the fact that the game is on, like everything is on the line, the game is afoot, that causes you to get super creative. And I've always found that we've had some really strong ideas that pop up just as a result of being locked in and launching. So, as a Comics Launch Pro member, that we have all the checklists and the blueprints and the cheat sheets and everything, but I have all that stuff too. And I print all that stuff out even for myself, for every launch, but I also leave that 20 to 30% wiggle room for inspiration and rolling with it and trying to look for things, on the fly to make things happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, it's just, you can't plan for everything. So just be flexible.
Yeah. So 4 days left for Nightwolf. What you got? Anything left? You're left in the tank? What's coming up? What has you most excited for the final home stretch of this launch?
So I still have plenty of stretch goals planned out. Right now, my current stretch goal that I'm striving for is to add Kevin Joseph's 4-pager to chapter 4. And so once that's unlocked, I'll be moving on to the next stretch goal. We'll be adding more book enhancements as well as giving away more freebies. I have milestones set. The next milestone to be hit is 250 backers, which everybody will be getting a free print by William Russell. So it'll be either the physical print or the digital wallpaper version. And then I have, again, I have a lot of artwork that, die cut stickers. I have prints. I have lots of things planned. So if, as we're hitting it in the last couple of days, if it happens to shoot up again, I have plenty of things planned out and ready to be like, hey, you're getting this, you're getting this. Feel like Oprah, you're getting a sticker, you're getting a sticker.
Nice. Well, we're going to be watching how this thing wraps up. I have no doubt it's going to be an epic finish to the campaign, and I'm really excited to get this die cut hardcover from you, man. I backed it. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to add it to my shelf.
And same here with yours. Like I'm like, as I was telling you before we went live, I was like, I know you're going to hit your goal, but I'm like, the fact that you're not funded yet is like, I want this book.
Yeah. We've had a couple of fans that are like, hey, if you guys don't get funded, are you still going to make this book? Will you launch again? And I'm like, listen, we're getting funded. One way or another, we're getting funded. And we've got several weeks to do it now, still left on the clock. And and still some tricks in our bag of. So we're looking forward to just rocking the campaign and getting everything, getting these books to print. And so creative cross promotion with other creators out there is one of the strategies that we're going to use to do it. And I will just say, like, I sort of had one of the strategies that we use, obviously, to get traffic and drive awareness is Facebook ads. And Facebook ads notoriously have, like, over the past couple of months, have been all over the map in terms of pricing, but also, like, their automated ad review things has been super finicky, and accounts have been getting shut down just for you post an ad, and if they didn't like something in it, they've been shutting down accounts. So, like, overnight, I got a message late last night that our account was shut down, and which would stop all of the ads we were running. Hit the appeal button, and by this morning when I woke up, everything was back up and running. But it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, all right, if that avenue shuts down, we've just got to throttle up something else, and so it, not ever letting one traffic strategy, one promotion strategy, one single cross promotion be the thing that's either going to make or break your campaign is the mindset that you need to go into it. You got to have that multi-pronged approach, and you got to keep plugging away and doing the things that are actually going to drive traffic to your Kickstarter campaign and get it in front of backers' eyeballs. I've been watching you do it all campaign long. I'm trying to do it all campaign long, despite crazy season that we are currently in with politics and elections and all of that. But
yeah, I mean, that's that, even if the eyes aren't on you at all times, I mean, at some point somebody's going to look away from that, that event, and if you're there, they see it, they're like, oh yeah, that's right, that's going on right now. So as I always say, if you have even if it's a small milestone, a small win, promote that, put it out there, sprinkle things along the way, beat that drum, keep it, you got to be in front of people at all times. Yeah. Even if you're doing free posts, you can't just do one a day or one every other day and expect people to see that, because the way social media is anymore, you're gone in a blip.
Yeah. There's too much going on out there for you to not be out there. So being visible is the key. Well, thanks so much, Rob. This was a great conversation, and I know a lot of creators are probably getting their ideas going, and who knows, maybe there's some people out there with projects live that want to cross promote with you. What's the best way to follow up with you in the future or right away if they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, if they want to get in touch with me, I'm on socials personally at Rob Multari. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then through the comics at lonewolfcomics.com. Well, at lonewolfcomics, and then lonewolfcomics.com.
Yep, and I'm sure if they message you through Kickstarter over in the Nightwolf Volume 1, that will be received. It'll be received probably even better if they're a backer, but got to get you to that 250 mark, man. Got to get that Kevin Joseph story. I'm excited for it.
Oh yeah, got to get that. I mean, that's all those stories are so good, and I can't wait to share those.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see art coming in for the story that I wrote for you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you got some great ideas from this, and we will talk again soon. Take care.